True story. Did you know that there's an interest group for those in the balloon industry? It consisted of a coalition of smaller balloon enthusiasts representing different self-interests. Festive float balloons just wanted to be in parades. Scientific study balloons just wanted to help scientists and researchers. Flying free balloons just wanted to get released. So these smaller groups got together and formed the Balloon Council in 2012, raising and spending $60,000 in their campaign. Part of the money was to educate the public on the helium crisis. They spent second half of funds lobbying policymakers to pass favorable balloon legislation on their behalf. All their efforts paid off and the helium crisis soon passed. Across the nation, enthusiasts were filling their balloons to their heart's desire. Everyone was okay with the festive float balloons and the scientific study balloons. But when it came to the flying free balloons, that's when we saw balloon backlash. A few states started passing anti-balloon laws, mainly stating environmental regulations. The media started printing pictures of birds tangled up in balloon strings, causing other states to pass anti-balloon laws. Well, the Balloon Council, furious at this example of gross government overreach, lobbied state legislatures hard, and they were partly successful. But to this day there are still 5 states that have anti-balloon laws on the books, where flying free balloons are not allowed. With respect to government, interest groups are all about changing policies, and they pursue strategies to influence policymakers.
I hear a lot of people talk about what it means to be woke. And apparently being woke means advocating for everybody. I'm woke if I advocate for trans people. I'm woke if I advocate for Mexicans. I'm woke if I advocate for anybody who's not a white man. And what I'm telling you is that in order to be woke as a native black person, as a descendant of slaves and sharecroppers and all of that, what woke means being understanding who you are, understanding your community and your tribe, and advocating first and foremost specifically for your tribe. Now you can have allies who also advocate for themselves and advocate for your tribe. But what you have to do before you form any kind of allyship, you have to form an agreement. You have to have terms of service. You don't advocate from this sort of other position of just doing everything for everybody. You advocate in terms of what it means for you and your community.
3 things can hinder or help to influence policymakers. 1. Inequality of political and economic resources. Since one of the most significant things an interest group can do for policymakers is to help fund their campaigns, policymakers are much more incentivized to take meetings with the well-funded interest groups. 2. Unequal access to decision makers. And 3. The free rider problem. A free rider is someone who wants others to pay for a public good but plans to use the good themselves. Large groups taking advantage of the effort of smaller groups makes it difficult to actually achieve the intended public good. As we continue to address and overcome injustice, are the justice claims of blacks being hijacked by other groups in America?
There is the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow. We don't owe the homeless. We don't owe feminists or gays who want to get married. What have we done to the immigrants? We owe black people something. We have a legacy of slavery.
Or, due to the efforts of politicians who recognize the electoral benefit of supporting non-black interests, are they free riders?
That's why the Democrats are dropping the blacks and moving on to the Hispanics, because they're a larger group of Hispanics now.
A recent article in The Atlantic, by Lawrence Glickman, history professor at Cornell University, noted that during the 60s the consideration by the white majority of what full equality would bring about caused a reaction which was coined white backlash, and defined as the hostile reaction of white Americans to the advances of the civil rights movement. He goes on that it basically consisted of 4 underpinnings. The hallmarks of white backlash: 1. Frames civil rights as a dangerous threat to liberty. 2. Highlights potential slippery slope of catastrophe. 3. Recommends go slow approach to civil rights. 4. Attempts to determine when special privileges have been crossed. As we consider black empowerment today, does a new definition of white backlash continue to control black progress?
When I think about how racism is practiced today racism is maintained not primarily by what white people and white institutions and philanthropy and government does against black people, but it's what philanthropy does for white people that they will not do for black people, you cannot have what Dr. Martin Luther King called the beloved community, a community where people are getting along and loving each other and living together in a civil society. You cannot have a beloved community if you do not first have a beloved economic arrangement. And it's the absence of a just economic arrangement in the distribution of resources that is at the root of so much dissension and enmity that exists today.
So this tree has different branches, and on one branch can be crime, on another branch could be drug abuse. But really, when it comes to economically distressed communities, those are symptoms. The real issues start in the root system.
So if you're going to be woke, the first thing I need you to do is understand who you are, understand who is in your tribe, understand who is outside of your tribe, and understand the policy initiatives that need to be taken to move your tribe forward in terms of opportunity in the 21st century.